Okay. Now what we've been working through so far has mostly been, it's a little bit out of 2.6, mostly out of 2.7. So we're actually going to finish up 2.7 tonight. And then we've done a little bit out of 2.6, but there's a lot more in 2.6, and we'll cover that next class period when everyone's here. So we're just going to go ahead now and finish up 2.7. So what we've been covering is mostly 2.6, mostly 2.7, a little bit out of 2.6. Anything out of 2.6 was those greatest integer functions. So now I'm going to give you a graph, and you're going to try to figure out what function it came from. Okay, so we put about 6 here. So we'll start at about 3. And we'll draw this graph here. Okay, and we want to find the function. So we're basically going to be working backwards. Now, when we look at this and we look at the picture, what does it look like? And when we look at that picture, it makes a U, doesn't it? So our function is going to be an x squared. Now, what's happening to our graph? Well, we didn't start down here at 0, 0, did we? We started up how many units? Looks like we didn't slide it left or right any. But if we count, it looks like we started about 3 units up. So that's going to be a plus 3. And what about the number in front? Well, the number in front, I'm going to try to draw it the best that I could. The number in front, we're going to have to go up 3, because up to 6, and then over 1. So the number in front will be a 3 over 1, because we went up 3 and over 1. So our function then is f of x equals 3x squared, and that plus 3 on the end. We know it's an x squared because it made a u. The 3 on the end, this is what made it move up. And then this 3 is that 3 over 1. Because we had to go up 3 and then over 1. We'll do a couple more of these. And then we'll look at points and how they work. So let's do another graph here. So there's our graph, and again, we want to find the function. Well, what function does it look like? If we go back and look at our common functions here, it resembles and it looks like the square root, okay? Now, what have we done with the square root? Well, we haven't moved that graph up or down, but what we did was we moved it to the left 2 units. And what would make that move to the left? That would be the square root of x plus 2, because that plus 2, remember, would make it move back 2. Now, what about the number in front? Well, I tried to draw it the best that I could here. It looks like to get from this point to the other one, we're going to go over 1 and up 1. So there's no number in front. And again, if you wanted to, you could put a 1 in front because you're going up 1 and over 1 to get to this next dot there. Let's try one more. This one's going to have a couple of translations here. Okay, so we're going to look at this one here. All right, so when we look at it, it makes a V. So we know we got the absolute value. And what are we doing to this function? Well, normally we would be at 0, 0, wouldn't we? So we're going to have to move this back 4 and up 2. Do you see why we did that? Because normally you start right here, but we're starting here. This is our start point here, at that portion of that absolute value. So we're going to start here. So what did we do? We went back 4, up 2. So we went up 2 units, so that means we're going to have a plus 2 on the end, because it moved it up. Moves it up or down, it goes on the end. What about that minus 4? We move it back 4, so we change our sign. So inside the absolute value, we're going to have a plus 4 there. Because that will move it back to the left, and that 2 would move it up 2. Now, what about the graph? Okay, normally it's a V upward, but this one is opening what? Downward. Here's where we start at. We need to get to this point. So what did we do? We moved down 2 and over 1. So what number is going to go in front? Minus 2. And that's your function, because you had to move down 2 and over 1. The negative tells you that it's upside down, right? And we need to get here, and if we count the number of units, we go down 2 and over 1. And I only gave you one of these questions in your homework, and there's only one of them, and I think it's a square root graph. So we'll kind of talk about this one just to make sure we understand this. So what will we know about this one? Go ahead and work this one through. And this is on 2-7. This is going to be question 2. So what does this look like now? Well, this one would be what? When we look at it, just looking at the shape of it, it looks like a square root. Okay? And it looks like we're going to start right here, and it looks like we're starting at about, if we count, it looks like we're starting about 4, 5, isn't it? Because that's where that starting dot is. Are you with me so far there? Okay, so on the end, what moves it up? The 5, because it's 5 units up. And then we have 4 units to the right, opposite of what we think. So it would be a minus 4 inside that, wouldn't it? And what's inside of here? Well, in front of here. So if we try to look at this, it's not really up 1 over 1. It looks like it's about, I would say, up about 1. And you can kind of read it however you want, but it looks like it's really small, so it looks like it's about up 1 and over about 3. So that would be a 1/3 in front, because you have to go up about 1 and over about 3. So it would be about a third, a fourth, somewhere in that range. So that's what I was looking at for in that question. But does that one make sense now? You see where I started from? We identified what it was, which is a square root. And then the 5 is because we moved it up 5. The negative 4 is because we moved it to the right 4. And then it's really narrow, so we'll say it's about a third. We can also modify a graph. So I'm going to give you a graph, and then we're going to redraw the graph with new translations. So I'm going to give you this graph here. So this is our graph of f of x. Okay, so there's our graph of f of x. Now we want f of x plus let's say 4. So this is our original here. We want f of x plus 4. Now that 4 is going to move that up 4 units. So let's look at our original graph. Where are we going to start at on the original? This graph actually starts at 0, 3, doesn't it? And what is that 4 on the end? If we add something on the end, what does it do? Moves it up. Okay, so we're already 3 units up. Now we take that 3, that up 3 units, we're going to add that 4, and that makes it 7 total up. So we had to move it 4 more up from that 3 already. And so that means our new graph is going to be up 7. So it's going to be right here at 0, 7, and then it looks the same. So what did that 4 do? That 4 moved the original graph, that was 3, moved it up 4 more and made it actually move up 7. So it shifted the entire graph up 4 units. Let's try another one. Here's your f of x again. And this is our original graph. And I'll go ahead and make these ordered pairs. So this ordered pair is at 1, 4. And this one's at -1, -4. So that's our original. We now want f of x, let's say, -5 plus 2. So that -5, what that's going to do, it's inside, so it moves it forward. So we're going to have to add 5 to the x values. Because it's inside. That 2 is moving it up, so we're going to have to add 2 to the y value. So that tells us what we're going to be doing. Now, what are the original ordered pairs? Well, we have in our function, we've got 1, 4. So we're going to have to change this, we're going to have to add 5 to the x value. So that's 1 plus 5 there. And then we're going to have to add 2 to the y value. So that makes it 1 plus 5, which is 6. 4 plus 2, which is also 6. So we look at each ordered pair, we're going to do each one. What about the next ordered pair from our picture? Well, the next ordered pair is -1, 4. So we're going to have to add 5 to the x value, and then we're going to have to add 2 to the y value. And -1 plus 5 makes it 4, and -4 plus 2 makes it a -2. Now we've got our points, and we can shift our graph around. Let's redraw this. Needs to look at kind of like this. We're going to now use our new points. So use your new points that we just got here. So we're going to use 6, 6. 6 and 6. So 6, 6 is here. And then we've got 4, negative 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And down 2. Connect them together to make this picture again. Now we have it. So we just took those ordered pairs and moved our function accordingly. So this corresponds to one of these questions. Let me find it here. See, this goes along with question 5. Because they give you a graph, just kind of like what we have, different ordered pairs. I'm not going to do this one for you, but I'll show you where to begin. What about that minus 3? Minus 3 is inside, so it moves it to the right 3. So you're going to have to add 3 to the x values. There's nothing on the y values. We're not going to change those at all because there's no number on the end, so it stays the same. Then you'll redraw it, and that's just going to shift this graph over 3 units, is all it's going to do. We've got one more quick topic to cover, and I think this will be it. So we'll go through this last piece here, and that should be it. Now I'm going to give you an ordered pair, and I'm going to give you a function, and then we're going to find the new ordered pair. So I'm going to give you this original function. Let's say y equals f of x minus 5, and I want you to use the point about 3, 1. If that's on the original graph, where is it going to fall at on the new graph? So this is our new function here. Okay, just like we did a moment ago. It's no different. We just don't have a graph to look at. But what does that minus 5 on the end do? Just like we've done many, many times, that minus 5 is going to do what? It's on the end, so that moves it down, doesn't it? So that means we have to move the y down 5 units. So we're going to have to subtract 5 from the y value. So our original point was 3, 1. We're going to have to subtract 5 from the y value. So what does our new point look like? We're not moving the x at all. We're only adjusting the y. So my new point would be at 3, negative 4. So that's my new point right there. And that would be your answer. 3, negative 4. You do not have to adjust the x value. It stayed the same. We only moved that y value down 5 units. So let's now look and see what we have covered so far. So what we have done so far is we finished up 2-5. So for your homework, we finished up 2-5. We did all of those. And then 2.6. What did we get in 2.6? We didn't do much of 2.6, but we did do the greatest integers, which there's only 3 of those. So in 2.6, you should be able to do 4, 5, and 6. And then 2.7, I believe that we finished it all. We'll finish up 2.6 next time. It's easier to do 2.7 first. So we've done 2.6, we did 4, 5, and 6. And 2.7, I believe that we covered all of them. Next week, we'll finish up Chapter 2. And just because we missed a couple of class periods, we won't have enough time to take an exam over Chapter 2. We'll just have to put it in our final. So our next test will be our final exam. So next week we'll come in, we'll finish up chapter 2, and then we'll look a little bit at 4 and 5, then start reviewing for our final that following week, and then our finals right after that. I think our finals that week of May 11th. So we've got, I think, 3 class periods left. So that's what we'll be doing next week.